Welcome to the Tuck Shop Podcast. I'm Matt Cernell, recording here live on the campus of the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown. Fresh back from lunch with my partner in crime here, Dave Janicek. David, how are you?
I will not admit to any crime, but a partner's fine. Sure. I wasn't there, Your Honor.
It was a good lunch.
I don't recall.
Want to get us to our guest right away here today. We have some really neat things going on. Do you want to kind of run through our calendar of events coming up?
Two quick things. I'm going to give a quick January thing and a quick February thing. Quick January thing. I know last week's podcast we had Abby Gearhart on. I guess it's this gentleman's right-hand person. We talked about Winterfest. That we're still looking, people to register for Winterfest. www.upj.pitt.edu/alumni. That is not this weekend, but next weekend, January 26th and 27th. 26th, wrestling against Seton Hill and athletic alumni reception afterwards. Saturday the 27th, all day, a bounce house is open to the community. But, we talked last week, we're adding a bonfire this year. $10 if you want to take part in the alumni reception the night before. And $10 if you want to grab yourself a beverage and barbecue at the bonfire. Register, still plenty of room. Love to see, come up and spend a day. You haven't spent a day in Johnstown, you come up in the end of January. And you really remember what it was like when you were a freshman or a junior or a sophomore. And the first question I always ask you, do you have a good pair of winter boots?
Yeah.
If you're going to attend here. So definitely come on up. It'll be a great time. The other thing I do want to mention, last year, Institutional Advancement did a little thing called Mountain Cat Couples during the month of February. And what we did is if you met your significant other here, we asked you to send us a story how you met and a photograph or photographs or two. Last year we had 22 or 23 couples had partaken in that little activity. We're doing it again this year. So I'd like to see us double that. It's kind of a neat thing whenever you read the stories on how so-and-so met so-and-so, and, they're all pretty clean. But they're interesting stories. So what you can do for that is we'll put some stuff out on our Facebook page and LinkedIn to remind everyone. But if you want to jump the gun and get your story and photo in, just send it to dgj7@pitt.edu, and you can put in the subject line Mountain Cat Couples. It's kind of a cool thing to get out and see that, it's kind of interesting. A lot of people came here. I guess they always say, what was your degree in college? And some people said MRS, an MRS degree. I got an MRS degree.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out. But we've had quite a few, which is kind of neat that you kind of met your soulmate here and then went on to a prosperous life afterwards. So Mountain Cat Couples is coming up in February. Start submitting your stories now. We'll start getting them up in February.
Thank you very much. And let me do you a favor. Would you like to point out that you're a Mountain Cat couple?
Yes, I'm a Mountain Cat couple.
So you don't get in trouble when
Yes.
this podcast gets the air. Okay.
Quick funny story. I'll tell you my quick funny Mountain Cat couple story. So Denise and I met here 35 years ago when I first took a job here. We met on a set of steps. So I took this job here. I went into the student union, took a picture of the internal steps at the student union, and texted it to Denise. And she said, "What's that?" I'm like, "Don't you remember?" And she sends back, "Idiot, we met on the outside steps." So it was, college was different times, I guess. Some things you remember, some things you don't. But we were Mountain Cat couples. I think, Matt, you also were a Mountain Cat couple.
We knew each other beforehand, but all my years here, and never since.
I think our guest is a Mountain Cat couple. I think he married the university.
Very much so.
Yes, I have been.
Quite a relationship.
Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of our guest, Coach Pat Pecora, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
You're welcome.
You get to be our probably our most well-known amongst the guests we've been able to welcome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's good to be here.
You certainly have touched alumni and the folks who listen to this show in a variety of different ways, even outside those that you have coached. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think back to how long I've known you, and my athletic ability is successfully navigating the stairwell. What brought you first here to because your career, you were talking a little bit before we started recording that you came in 76?
76. Yeah, it was a it was a good road here because actually the road to UPJ actually started my senior year in college. I was wrestling at West Liberty University. Our coach at the time, my coach, Vince Monceau, Hall of Fame coach, was a great guy, but he took a young coach under his wing by the name of Bruce Hasselrig. And Bruce, that was UPJ's first year in wrestling, okay, that they were a varsity sport. And they had a very nice team. And our coach, Monceau, he took Bruce under his wing just to guide him along. And at that time, West Liberty had a huge tournament at West Liberty, which was rare in those days. Monceau made it just like the national tournament. But he invited UPJ to come down. And so it was funny because we kind of met Bruce then. He was there. I actually wrestled a guy from UPJ, if you could believe that.
Did you win?
In the finals of the tournament. Yes, I did.
All right, there we
but
go.
Anyway, he was in the finals of the tournament, and so I was really ironic. So after that, what had happened was I graduated. I was at East Allegheny High School, in fact, 1 year coaching there, and my buddy was looking for a job. He found an ad in the paper, came to me and said, "Hey, there's a job opening at the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown." And of course, I recollected. I said, "Yeah, we wrestled with them at the tournament." And I said, "Yeah, I knew the coach there now." And he said, "Well, they're looking for a physical education teacher and a head soccer coach and a head wrestling coach." I'm like, "Oh, geez, I never even kicked a soccer ball, you know." But anyway, at the time you have resumes available. I put a resume in, and before you know it, I got a call to come up for an interview. I didn't even have a car. I didn't even own a car. My buddy then, who's not my brother-in-law, he actually drove me up. But anyway, came up for an interview, and then one thing led to another thing, and they offered me the job. I accepted it, and I started in 1976, and have been here ever since. And it was good because the program had just started. It was a very young wrestling program. So it was like my baby,
Sure.
you know. And I was a young man, so I grew with it. It grew with me, and that's why now it's just we started with nothing basically. By the time I got here, the program was a little bit disarray. There was only about 4 guys left on the team. We had the sports center wasn't built then, so we used to practice in the old gym up here,
which is now the Cambria room.
Right, it was a student
in
union.
the student union.
We practiced on the stage of the gym, if you know how small a stage is.
Yeah.
So we did that for like 2 years, and then we went to Wimber and had to roll the mats out. We Wimber Rec Building. We practiced there, and then they built the sports center, and then they had a little room in the sports center that became our wrestling room, and then like I said, that's how it all began. So it was but it was good. I really enjoyed coaching soccer. I got to know a lot about soccer and about coaching soccer, and taught physical education classes. It was a great way to stay in shape. Did a lot of intramurals, and so we're very involved in every aspect of the school. And in those days, you kind of the whole school mingled together.
Yeah.
I mean, we all had lunch. I mean, everybody came up with lunch at the student union, and you got to meet professors and staff, and it was just like one big family.
I think that's a theme that we hear a lot about that, and actually you and I were talking again before we started recording about a mutual friend of ours, Dr. Corey, that it was the same kind of thing. You think talking and knowing you and stuff, it's, well, wrestling coach and
Right.
geography background, how would that connect? And football, and it's a different sport, but it's
yeah, you did. You mingled with everybody, especially at lunch, and then when you're coaching, you're dealing with the admissions office, the financial aid office, and all the other aspects of the school. And then, you're recruiting, and so you're talking to professors about majors and things like that. And again, everything was kind of hands-on then, When a recruit was coming in, you called a professor up, hey, would you like to talk to the, and they were always glad to do it. And that's how you got to know professors real good.
One of the things that is unsurprising to me, having known you for so long, but the folks that will say when they hear UPJ or see me out wearing a hat, oh, I went there. I know. I went and graduated. Oh, great. And you talk about, and they don't want to talk about their program. Mm-hmm. They don't want to talk about their division, their department. I wrestled. What do you attribute that to from your qualities that people just that is what they identify. David and I have worked a long time building and identifying legacy groups. And that is a group that I think has some of the strongest affinity, and that's because of that. What do you think that quality is?
I think it's family. I grew up in a very tight family battalion, the old type of thing, and so it was my dad always you stuck up for your brothers and sisters, and the family was the most important element in society. My dad even said that the family unit is the most important unit in society, and so it was real big in family and Sunday dinners, and so when I first got the job at the UPJ, I was never an assistant coach, so I never had any, okay, how do I do this? But I remember my mother and father would say that they knew they were good parents if their children were close. If their children were close, if they had a good relationship, then they did a good job as a parent. So I thought, okay, well, that's how I'll coach. If my wrestlers feel like brothers and they have a relationship like I would have with my brother or sister, then I know I did a good job. And so that's how the program was built, on that philosophy that this is a family and you guys are brothers. And so when you are just as excited, or you want your brother to succeed or accomplish goals for himself, and you feel good about it, and you're helping him do that, and so the program was built on letting me. I'm going to help you become an All-American, and in doing that, it's going to help me become an All-American or a national champ. And so it was a brotherhood. In fact, out of that came our theme that my wrestlers will always say before and after practice or matches is brothers for life. That's our motto that was picked up over the years. And when I talk to the guys on the current team, I'll call them your uncles. Your guys that wrestled in the past, when I'm pulling out the wall and say, there's one of your uncles here. He's coming tonight to, this is what his mark he left on the program. And I could give a story on every single person that ever wrestled for us on that. And so I think that that is what they feel. And so when they graduate, they always know. And I always kid them all now. I said, it's because it's been so many years and you have so many alumni out there. I said, well, it's good for you guys because you all had the same dad. So it's easy coming back when everybody, and it's easy. So we've had guys who graduated 10 years later who were in someone's wedding that they didn't even go to school with, because the connection between the alumni, our alumni, and the current guys is unbelievable. They're just very well connected, and they stay connected to the current guys, and the current guys stay connected to our alumni. So there's a real tight bond there, and I always tell them stories about the alumni and what his contribution to the program was, and what legacy he left. And that's what I tell each and every one. Leave a mark. What kind of mark are you going to leave? What story am I going to be telling the next group about you, of what mark you left on the program? Sure. So I think there is definitely a brotherhood that keeps them all together, over these 48 years or whatever it is.
Yeah. Something that I thought of earlier, and I wanted to ask you. You talked about your time where you wrestled, and you actually wrestled against somebody from UPJ. What led you to wrestling?
Well, that was a strange one, too. My oldest brother, Ernie, who has since passed, but he, when my parents, they called it then in those days, they'd go down the street, which meant they were going down, down into out for the night, and to see the aunts and the uncles down in Wilmerding. We were originally from Wilmerding, grew up in the Pittsburgh area. So Turtle Creek, there right where the kind of, but anyway, at that time, we called it studio wrestling. Bruno Sammartino, Jumpin' Johnny DeFazio, they were the guys,
Yeah.
So when my parents would leave, my older brother, who was a big guy, he was 6 years older than me and my other brother, he would move all the furniture to the walls. And all of a sudden, we were being hit with flying drop kicks and headlocks, and we would wrestle, all three. And it was me and my middle brother were tag team against our biggest brother, and so we'd go at it. And then when my parents were about to come home, we'd push all the furniture back like nothing ever happened. But anyway, my next oldest brother, Richie, he ended up going out for wrestling at Gateway High School. He went to Gateway, that's where which is in Monroeville, and so they just started wrestling there, and then so he started wrestling on a real team, and he was coming home, and all of a sudden we had these Sunday matches, or when my parents were out, and he was getting closer and closer to beating my oldest brother, and I thought, wow, he must be, he's learning some stuff here. So obviously, I went to practice one time with him when I was in 8th grade, but when I went to 9th grade, I went to Sarah Catholic in McKeesport, and right away I just gravitated toward wrestling, because it was kind of in those days it was the sport for the tough guy, who's going to be the tough guys who are going to are going to wrestle type of thing. So that's how I began wrestling myself. And then I went from wrestling in high school to wrestling in college to coaching.
One thing that I think is also very evident from your time coaching is that, and I certainly see it in my role outside of the alumni on campus, is the wrestlers also are really good students. Has that been something that what emphasis have you placed upon that from the academic side as well?
Well, we try to emphasize the whole person, so in fact, I just talked last night, my talk to the wrestlers was, you have different circles in life, you have your athletic circle, and you have to spend time there. You have your, family circle, your friends, and you have an academic side, spiritual side. There's different circles in your life that you need to spend time in. And whatever circle you're in at that moment, then you spend time and you put yourself into that circle. So obviously you're coming to school for two things. I talked to them right from the beginning. Two major things is one is academics, and second is wrestling. So we emphasize academics because it's one of those things that that's what you're going to end up doing the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And plus, you want to be good at doing anything that you're doing. I tell my guys, hey, if you're taking out the garbage, be the best person taking out the garbage. So when you're in school, when you're in class, then that's practice, and you're gonna be the best you can in practice. You want to be a national champion, All-American? What do? You come a little early for practice, you stay a little late, you put extra time in. Well, that's the same thing. You want to be a good student? Well, this is how good students do it, And they go to class, they're prepared, they pay attention, they ask questions, they put time in before class, after class, and other times of the day. So always wanted to emphasize academics because, we all know that that's the number one thing you're here for, and and that's where you're going to have your job and things like that. So we kind of went through all the, when we get the grades out every year, we always go through, and I always talk to the guys about, hey, look at this guy's getting and what you're getting. I mean, we have so many good students. I have one student right now that is he not only gets all A's, he gets all A pluses, and he's taking 17 credits in engineering.
Wow.
And we have so many engineers on the team. So with engineering being such a big major here, I would say we have 10 to 15 engineers. So honestly, they come here already good in school. They already have all the skills that they've developed because they wouldn't be getting into engineering if they didn't. Mm-hmm. So we do have a lot of guys that are already developed good academic skills before they come to college, and I just emphasize it. But I emphasize also being a good person. That I want you to be that. We want to be the kind of guys that, on the mat, you're going to go out there and kick the crap out of somebody, but when you're off the mat, you're a good person. You're a good, because I want them someday to be good husbands and good fathers and good employees, and so they're going to be respectful to people and try to lead good lives in all areas of their life. That's what we're trying to develop, and that's why coaching is so important and it's so rewarding. Is that I always tell the guys that wrestling is the vehicle that brought us together, but the relationships that we're going to form while you're wrestling, that's what really counts. And when guys get together, I mean, yeah, people talk about this match or that match, but it's the relationships that you formed over the years that really count. And wrestling was just a vehicle that kind of God brought us together to that molds us. And so that's why with coaching, that's how I look at it. It's wrestling's a vehicle, and so to be able to be in a position to be a positive impact on a young man's life, I mean, God Almighty, what's more important than that, So it's a very rewarding, very job, and when I see them, when my alumni come back, man, it feels good. And they introduce me to, to their wife and kids, and they're being very successful, and it's crazy. And then them to even say thanks, it wouldn't been the same without you, type of thing.
From 1976 to today, we're sitting here. What is today? We're recording on the 12th of January 2024. Mm-hmm. You talked a little bit about the change in the program, how you started in the what was the gym and now the Cambria room, wrestling on this. What is your impression, the changes? How has campus grown outside of your program? Because you've seen a lot occur around this campus as well.
Campus has grown tremendously. I'm telling you, when I first got here, well, this building we're in right now wasn't here. There was Biddle Hall and Krebs Hall. In fact, our athletic offices were in Biddle Hall, right there. And so, and there was no nursing building. There was an engineering building was here. The library was here. The dorms were here, but not all the 4 freshman dorms were here, but not all the other dorms, And then the sports center came later, and the nursing building and Blackington, and so when our alumni come back, they're always amazed that, wow, this campus is huge, it's big, and so it's nice to see how it's grown, and I've always thought right from the beginning it's a beautiful campus, beautiful, and that's an easy sell. You bring someone on this campus and walk them around, and it's a beautiful campus. The buildings are very well kept, the stone, and the groundskeepers keep the grounds real prestigious, and so it's a beautiful campus, and it's in a nice area to where everything is right here, but then you go off campus and there's a mall, there's a place there's restaurants, there's movie theaters, bowling alleys. You're right next to everything. Where some campuses, you got to drive for miles just to, to get a pizza or something or go off campus. But here, it's its own little college, but right outside it in Richland Townships. I tell people it's the most convenient spot in America. You could get anything you want within 10 minutes and no traffic.
When you think about the program, and you talked a little bit about that importance that you take from that feeling of having special imparting wisdom, knowledge, training. Was that just, and you talked, is that mostly that's ingrained in you more than anything else? And do you, when you think about that, do you think that is probably the biggest part of the things that you coach? Because I think you coach that to every alum, every student that you've talked to in any role.
Yes, and it's believe me, I'm very competitive. I want to win, and I'm not very good at losing, and I don't like to lose. And so well,
you don't do it often, Coach.
So it's a push, in a sense that there's a certain standard that that's like I never had rules. I do a lot of things different, I guess, than a lot of other coaches. I never had a set of rules. I had a set of standards that will adhere to that the guys know that this is what is acceptable and this isn't acceptable for a UPJ wrestler. And so our standard is very high, and so the standards that is held high, and then you got to live up to the standard, and so to speak. But I think a lot of it comes from your upbringing and and your family. I think a lot of my things that I do stem from how I was raised and my family, and so I think that's a big thing. But anyway, it's just. But it's still, there's a very competitive aspect to it, and you're combining all that. But winning is just trying to be that's what I tried to talk even yesterday about, was trying to be the best you can be. And if that wins you a national title, great. If it becomes an All-American, great. Maybe it's just for some guy just starting and be a regional champ. It's trying to get someone to be their best, whatever their level might be, and so that's the whole part of coaching is, can I get each and every one of them to be the best that they could be, on the mat and in every other aspect of their life, but talking of wrestling on the mat, and can we do that? And so, and what I think is that trying to do it together is the key. And I think that's what kind of leadership is. Leadership is taking the goals and of a group, and bringing them together and accomplishing something together that you couldn't have accomplished by yourself. And I think that's what my job is to get individuals to accomplish something together that maybe they couldn't have done by themselves.
Thinking back to that first year you were here, can you fathom, could you go back, if you talked to that man then and said, the career that has been built to this day in 2024 would consist of this?
Never. I remember first, I never would have thought it. The first thing, I just wanted to have a program of respect that was respected, and we weren't getting big time recruits then, and so we had guys that, got a lot of local guys and coal miners' sons and tough kids, and our motto was, we're going to win the fight. might not win the match, but will win the fight. And what I mean by that is that I don't care if you're losing 10-2, get the last takedown. End up on top. Find a way to get the last point scored. Whether you're losing by 10 or winning by whatever. And the motto was then is that win, lose, or draw, you want your opponent never to want to wrestle you again. That was it. And so, like I said, my first year we won 4 matches. My first recruiting trip, because I was hired in September, was to the cafeteria. I went to the cafeteria, and I would look at guys, and especially if they had a wrestling shirt on, I'd go over, hey, taking the tray from there, and what do you weigh? What are you doing? And so, I was literally recruiting guys out of the cafeteria, because we're trying to get 10 people to fill a squad. So the first year we won 4 matches, and I don't know how we did that even. And then it just grew from there. And so we were 4-12 my first year. Second year, with the same schedule, we were 12-4, and never looked back. And we've been winning ever since. And then it just started growing. And getting that first All-American, Barry Gresh from Bishop Carroll, he was our first All-American. He broke in. That was a goal of ours, was to have a guy place in the nation. God Almighty. And so all of a sudden we had Barry Gresh did it, and I remember calling back, and Ed Sherlock was the athletic director, and saying we did it. We got an All-American, and so that became, and then all of a sudden, people are looking at Barry. He's in the room, and the Revez brothers they were from Central Cambria. They were saying, hey, well, if he could do it, I could do it. And then Sean Isgen from, Somerset, he became our first guy to make it to the national finals. And then all of a sudden, these guys that were they were the building blocks of the program, and they were accomplishing things, and off because of competition within each other almost. And then it just grew. Now it's a natural thing. It's guys, and so I started putting All-Americans and national champions on our walls. And that became part of, every young man that we're recruiting. That's their goal. They want to be on the wall. They want to make the wall before they leave. Mm-hmm. And that's why I always tell them. I say, you get a degree and you get your name on the wall, and you did good.
I can actually in my mind see you going through the cafeteria.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it was.
What's your weight? Need another burger?
Yeah. Maybe you need to move up a weight. But I was literally taking trays out of guys' hands, and like I said, it was. Then once I got a year under my belt recruiting wise, then we could go out and get some pretty tough guys.
As we kind of wrap up here, I don't want to hold you. You have a match actually scheduled tonight.
Yep.
Oh, David has.
I have just one question, Coach, and I think this is interesting because you talk about this family dynamic, and wrestling, in part, is an individual sport, and it's. I guess my question is, because you're right, it's a family, but how do you take that individual attitude? Jimmy, because the team
exactly
could do terrible, but I could be a national champion, or I could move on, and it's like, what the heck with this guy next to me? Yeah. I'm in it for myself. So talk a little bit about how that works.
Wrestling is so unique in that aspect that it's an individual sport in a sense, but again, it goes back to that. But it's the most team-oriented sport that I know of, because it takes your teammates to help you become the best you can become. And so, again, it's that philosophy of I try to tell guys is that you trying to make your brother a national champion is going to help you become a national champion. It works its way around. So in no other sport do you get so dependent on a workout partner, your coaches. It just becomes so much more than yourself, and that's when you accomplish your greatest achievements. Is like I said, when you're actually helping someone else accomplish theirs.
with tonight's match, I wanted to not hold you too long. Again, we're recording Friday, so everyone who gets to listen to this next week will know what happened. But if you want to see more of the schedule, come out to a match, certainly the athletic webpage, as well as the social media for both
Right.
athletics and the university will gladly direct you to where to go.
Exactly. Yeah, we have Millersville tonight, and next week we got the Shippensburg Duels. Then we have, for the Winter Fest, we have Seton Hill coming in on Friday night, and be a lot of alumni there, and we'll hear a lot of good stories that night, and so I'm looking forward to that. So, and that'll be the month of January, and then, things going into February. And before you know it, regionals and nationals will be here, and it'll be another year.
Goes quick.
Goes fast. Yep.
Coach,
Goes fast.
thank you for spending.
Thank you. I
a bit of the
enjoyed it.
afternoon.
Very enjoyable.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Coach Pecora, both for your time. Appreciate. There's a paid part and a volunteer part, and you both know how much appreciated that is. The time you guys put in for this university.
Great. Love it. Love it. Love it. I say Pitt Johnstown as much as I say Pat Pecora. I've said so many times, this is Pat Pecora from Pitt Johnstown. It's like it's part of my name.
The Tuck Shop podcast is recorded live on the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown campus. Update your contact information with us by visiting johnstown.pitt.edu/alumni. Connect with us online via Facebook and LinkedIn, or consider donating to the university at giveto.pitt.edu/giveupj.